Fabulous. Well, Honey, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's a Friday afternoon, so everyone's ready for the weekend. So we won't won't keep you longer than I have to. But how's things with you?
Hi, good afternoon, Josh, and Friday afternoon, and it's the UK is changing. I hope it's for the better as well. So yes, it's good with me. Thank you for inviting me.
No, you're very welcome. But yeah, if you could just kind of look to give us a bit of a run through in terms of your journey to kind of get to where get to where you are, because I think, especially with the women and social housing role that you've got, this can definitely be a journey that can inspire a lot of others to get into this space.
Thank you, Josh. I I've been working sector for almost 3 decades, and I know it's people look at me and said, "You sure?" So I can say yes. 28 years I've been working in the sector, from frontline staff to managing director and chair, and working in the board for last 10 years. So um, of course, the wish is as women in social housing is my passion for women empowerment. That's something close to my heart. I joined Wish as a member first 10 years ago. I used to go to those events, and I really inspired the networking and the confidence you can build through those networks. Because I used to be, stand on one side, not talk to many people. That's not the person I was. And since I was started engaging and having that conversation, even small chats, really give that change and confidence building. So slowly, I realized is the impact you can make. So I became a board member for years ago. It's almost 5 years now. So the last 2 years I've been chair of London region as well. I'm also board member at the KIC, which is the central board as well. So which is really um, again, Wish is doing really well. We already got 11 regions whole UK, and now we're going to Southern Ireland as well. So it's again expanding even more areas. So yeah, I'm really delighted to be part of Wish journey and success. Really, yeah.
Yeah, no, amazing. And then what? Obviously, starting as a member, kind of 10 years ago to kind of now, what changes have you seen happen in the industry for those looking to get into the sector?
Yeah, as you may have seen the stats in the construction sector. If you look at the numbers, hasn't shifted. If you look at the last 20 years, women coming into construction is still it's still quite a bit of challenge. The I think that's one of the things which she's trying to overcome is getting more women into construction, getting more young people to really understand housing is a world they can work on. So obviously some of the work I'm doing with the universities about talking about career opportunities in housing. So Wish actually has doing lots of work around that, engaging with other women and getting that empowerment side. Sadly, there is still, there are a number of areas we haven't made much change. One of the things I can mention is recently we did a survey, and I think it's around 55% of women staying, their, their voice is not heard in the offices or among colleagues. So compared to men. I think that's really sad. Even now you're not equal in your voice in a round table. I think that's a shame. So there is a lot more all of us can do, especially Wish can do a lot more to get more women empowerment side. I think that's really a long way to go for us. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%, and I think it's done really great work so far. But I think there's a journey still to go, especially when you're kind of looking at it from the recruitment aspect and the next leaders. It's about getting them people to come through. So we're building the future leaders of the housing sector, and if a large majority of them can be women, then that'd be amazing, right?
Yes, it's obviously National Housing Federation every year they do a survey, and it found it's not 50% women yet into the senior roles. It's still, there is a long way. But I would say sadly even worse if you look at the BME women coming into the sector on the top position. So I can say I'm less than 1% of women, BME women in senior leadership in the sector. So which is really sad because I know there's so many women in frontline services, but not able to get to that top position. So there's still a lot of barriers to overcome, and that's one of the things I'm passionate about through my mentoring and coaching service is about getting those women believing that it's possible to get to those roles, and navigating through those difficult, challenging interview process as well, because it's not easy to get to those roles these days. So it's getting that mentoring, coaching, that support also needed, because I know there are quite a few women made it to the top, but this is obviously, if you look at BME sector, it's not many.
There's still a way to go. And I guess it's, you mentioned it about the mentoring and coaching. It's around making sure these people don't lose confidence and they do keep pushing forward with their career because things are changing and hopefully that will drive a positive outcome, right?
Yeah, Joshua, it's one of the sad thing is, like you mentioned, I have seen quite a few BME women came into director level and they tried and tried and they didn't get to the MD or CEO level, and they just give up and go into other sectors, charity sectors or private sectors even, because they realize that journey is not possible. So it's really needed, have that um, give the support for those women to make into that journey. So it's still, I would say it's a lot more work to do. So I'm really hoping if I can really help more people, because I'm already doing some mentoring and coaching even before my consultancy through Housing Diversity Network and Vision, and there's other mentoring program called Oysters are Leading from Front. So there are a few programs I've been mentoring and coaching, and it's really, really delighted to see some of those mentees become board members and senior professionals through my mentoring. So it's there is a lot more senior professionals can do this, because I think we do need to give it time for other people as well. I think that's something we need to give back. I think that's the service part of that. I think you do have that obligation. I think it's important. We can't forget when you reach to that level, there are people below you. They need that support. I think that's fundamental. Yeah.
Yeah, no, amazing. And obviously, you mentioned the work you do with universities. Is that to help create awareness and kind of make housing a career of choice? Where I think, we do a lot of work in social housing and health and social, and I think they've got similar reps in terms of not the most, they don't get a lot of interest when it comes to get starting your career. What work have you seen do positive work with universities?
Yeah, I have to say, because one of the things at which our objective is to create more young people coming into housing sector. So that's one of the objectives, key top objectives. And same with the CIS as well. So it's getting careers, a profession for young people. So one of the things I started is last year, I was very lucky. I managed to get some connection with the London Met University, where I did my MBA over 10 years ago. So I asked them, can I come and talk to the students? Because they had a career conference day. And they did say, yes, come and talk. And then I managed to really tell my story, how I came into housing, what I did, and, how I progressed and how amazing the career is. There are a lot of people, to be honest, even the salaries are far better than some other sectors. Even, and it's a rewarding career as well. It's not just the money; it's the change you make it to everyone's life, really. So So when told them the stories, people, a lot of the students really understood because they didn't know the type of jobs is available as well. It's housing, what that jobs look like. There's housing officer, there's housing manager, this marketing person, or finance person. It doesn't have to be this particular role. So the variety of jobs you can do as well. So they called me back again this year for the London Met University conference again. So I was very lucky. I managed to speak both conferences. So now I'm working with Westminster University and a couple of other universities as well. So they want me to do the same, go and talk to those students and tell them. It has to be, you do need it to get that conversation. To be honest, it's not just the universities. You need to start with the schools as well, because that's where the young children are making career choices. So they need to really understand there is a world out there, and a lot of the young people, they don't even know what social housing means, and that itself is an area. So it's an education piece as well. So I wish we are looking to see how we can reach out to schools as well and talk to those students about what you live and what we can do, and there's a career there as well. So there's a lot of work to do. So I'm delighted representing, because I'm also a member of CI's regional board as well. So representing both those great organization and going out to those educational, forums and talk to them as well. So yeah, finding quite rewarding, I would say, exciting as well.
No, amazing. Sounds awesome. And I think, we touch on the career side of things. You look at the team sheet of a housing association. There's so many different departments. So there's so much career option, which I think needs, is a real positive that, just because maybe, I don't know, you come in as a housing officer, you can still have five, six, seven, eight different paths that you can go down, which I think
Yes.
having that option available to you as a sector makes it really powerful.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I started my career 28 years ago as a copy typist. Obviously I didn't know anything about social housing. I was very lucky I had that job because I knew how to type and I knew how to use the computer, so then I realized you know how amazing working in social housing, because I was talking to customers and people, and that the change you can make in people's life. And I studied as well, because I had a master's in biochemistry when I came into my first job, but I then realized is giving that additional studies would give me that tools for me to do my job really well and also progress my career as well. So I did an evening study and went and so I did my MA Housing Law and Policy at Westminster University. So obviously it's about learning as well, keeping up to date, because as you know, the professionalism standards are as the government is bringing. I think that's really fundamental for us to have that qualification. So obviously that really helped me from housing copy typist, housing officer, manager, head and director and MD. I progressed all the way through. Not only that, I've joined the board, and for the last 10 years, it's been being chair as well. So it's helped me to navigate all different roles. So when I go into an organization, I can say, "Ah, yes, I have done all these roles." And you can really connect to those people. What do they do? How you impact on people's life. And especially when you're being a frontline staff, it's such a rewarding job. So people ask me a lot of the times, which out of all the jobs, which was the most rewarding? Definitely my frontline job and the MD roles, because you got the both extreme, and you feel that the power and change you can make into people's life. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that with all leaders, I think, the best leaders are the ones that have been there and done the journey, but also it grounds them and makes you, like you said, you can connect better. You understand things more, and actually being, even every now and then going back onto the front line, seeing what's happening. Do you know what I mean? Staying relevant with what people are going
Yes.
through, I think allows you to kind of lead from the front in a real positive manner.
Yeah, I always say whenever I start a new job, whether it's an exec or MD or even board member, I try and see customers and see frontline staff and get to know them, get visit those properties and homes and get to know people. I think that's where you can learn. Rather than reading reports, obviously reports you need to read as a board member. That's one of the things you had to do, but when you go and see people, when you go and talk to customers and frontline staff, you can really see what's really going on the ground. And what, would you live in that home? Is that something we should be providing the service? Or should we get better? So I think it's really important for doesn't matter whatever job you get to, really stay ground and understanding what's really going on the ground, because then you can really relate to, is that service you want to provide to your customers, would you accept that is acceptable? I think that's really important for leaders to go and see it themselves. So I know now the consumer standards and regulations are bringing that real change, but you don't need this regulation to tell you what to do, but sadly that is what's happening now.
Yeah, no, of course, and it allows you to understand the struggles that maybe people are going through, and kind of, would you be happy in that situation? And if you wouldn't be, then why should they be happy in that situation? That's where you need to drive positive change. Um, so I guess kind of, I'm not going to turn this into a politics show, but obviously, it's Labour are the next government. What would and regardless if it was Labour or whoever was to come in, what kind of changes need to kind of start happening over the next kind of, the next couple of years?
Yeah, I thought that says it's obviously you may have seen my manifesto. I'm standing as a CIS candidate and for the vice president election. This is my second time because I did stand last year. I didn't win. I think I have over 20%. So it's like a lost with 10% vote. So obviously, I don't know in terms of numbers how many that lost. But either way, my campaign was about raising social housing on the top of the agenda. Even last year, that was my key theme, and I'm keeping that key theme even now. Sadly, the last 30 odd years, we didn't build enough social housing, hence, we have this crisis. So, we haven't got enough homes for everyone, so people are living in temporary accommodation. Sadly, a lot of children are sleeping in overcrowded accommodation, temporary homes, and that is obviously that's the basic things, hierarchy of needs. Maslow's theory, I always say, the basic is a shelter. If you have a good quality home, you're more likely to have a better life. You have better education, better employment, better health, and that as sadly that last 30 years that priority was not there for home building. There's not enough homes built across England. So this year, first time you hear all the politicians talked about social housing, which is really great. But the Labour really made some solid commitment. They're going to build X number of homes, and they're going to review the planning reform. All of those things they're talking about it. So NatFed and CIS really working with those the key politicians to make sure they deliver as well. So one of the things I'm positive and hoping, if I win this CIS election, I really want to work with the key policymakers, politicians, really put that what they promise to deliver, because that's really important. So we need social housing, more of that, whether it's rented or home ownership, because people can't afford to live. Obviously, private renting is far too much, especially in London. If you live, how many people can afford to buy, and how many people can really rent in privately? If you look at your wages, most of your wages goes for mortgage or rents. So you can't really afford it, and what sort of a future you're giving to your children. So this is the magic. If you work and if you give that support, I think the government, if they keep to their promises, we should see massive change in the next 3 4 years, and of course NatFed and CIH really working closely. So I am looking forward to become the CIH vice president, so I can join that campaign to really push that agenda even further, because
Yeah,
I'm believing
yeah, no, amazing.
positive campaigning and change campaign. That's all about me, about keeping that positivity and pushing the agenda forward. Yeah, and raising the sector as a whole about improving our sector standards as well, because it's not just about getting some more social housing. We need to make sure it's good quality safe homes for our customers and good service for our customers, and I think that's fundamental.
Yeah, because you can know Labour can come and say that they're going to build X amount, which is great, but like you said, the standards they've got to be the right homes, they've got to be the right condition, they've got to be at an X level to be
Yeah.
sustainable and provide that long term security.
Yeah, and it's the right places as well, because it's obviously we want to protect our nice neighborhoods as well, because you don't want to ruin them as well. So, and back in the time, there's lots of tower blocks. Nobody wants them. So that is not the solution as well. So it's about the infrastructure as well. It need to come together, because because I know in where I live in Croydon, this it's a buildings everywhere now. Is houses are built, but there's no enough infrastructure there, and you can't even get hospital appointments, or you haven't got enough parking, or all those sort of issues as well coming with that. So you do need to address a number of issues. You can't just build homes and not thinking everything else will sort out.
Yeah, it's the infrastructure that comes with building them, right? You got to. It's not as simple as just building some houses. There's a whole infrastructure around. Is there additional roads? Hospital space, school space.
Yeah,
There's
of
other
course,
areas
yes.
that needs to take importance, right?
Yeah, it's that sort of model. You do need to create communities rather than homes. So that is the model I hope the new government will be thinking. I know they talked about new towns and stuff like that. So hope that change would happen with that community sort of thing. Bringing the facilities for schools and play areas, and because as you know, the antisocial behavior has gone up so much over the last 10 15 years, because there's hardly got enough youth centres and enough facility for youngsters, and hence the crime has gone up and things like has actually changed. So we do really need to address those key issues as well. It's not just about home. So it's the politicians have a lot of things to do. I probably would say, and working with the sector as well, because it's because we are wanting to solve the problem. It's not like we shouldn't be working in isolation. Local authorities, stakeholders, all different partners need to work together, because that was the only way we can solve these issues.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then we kind of previously had on Garen Oakley, who works for Platform Housing Group, and he mentioned around there needs to be a massive planning overhaul to ensure that these houses or communities, villages can actually be built. Do you reckon that's something that's going to be addressed?
The issue is like I mentioned, it's about having in the right place, and it's often the homes are not built at the right places. You do need it to have that the community cohesion. You need to make sure it's identify those right places and make sure this is the the right needs. And I think often it's about there is a lack of coordination. Some local authorities are really obviously they want to meet their targets, so hence they go ahead and build those homes, or they agree planning. It's about it's a coordinated approach. I think it's hence that's why I said before, everyone needed to be looking at as a one team approach, as rather than against each other, because often sadly it's about is about their own profit or their own success, and that's where it's going wrong.
If we look to kind of wrap up shortly, but I guess one of the real things that drove me towards you was, and obviously wanting to connect with you, and we're looking to do some work with yourself and Wish in the future. Anyway, it's what message would you give to those kind of at university or at a crossroads in terms of career path? What message would you give them about coming into social housing?
Yeah, Josh, I don't know whether I mentioned to you, I born and raised in India. I came to United Kingdom in 1993. So UK was completely new to me, and I didn't know anything about social housing, or I couldn't hardly even speak in English because I bought up and studied everything in a totally different language. Obviously, I could understand English and write and stuff like that, but not that was not my first language. So I faced a lot of challenges to get into the employment market to get my first job. So one of the things I would say is, there's so many um, students finishing universities. That is the biggest challenge they may be facing as well. How to get your first job in that place, how to get your foot in the, in a housing association or local authority or any similar places. I think that's a challenge at the moment, because when I went to university and talking to students at London Met after I finished the conference, they came and talked to me and said, "Oh, how do I get my first job?" Obviously, because they all completed the course. So those ones I would say is, obviously, not many universities can offer those internships, because that's one of the things I found really useful. So if you university can support you, because there are so many housing association in England and whole UK actually. So if every housing association actually creates some positions or internship, so for them to go and spend a month to see what really happens in that organization, going to even a couple of weeks being a shadow housing officer, shadow a customer service team or repairs team, you can see what the different jobs they do, and you be able to really learn and get that understanding. So I think that's first thing I would say, creating opportunities for, because work experience, um, again, a lot of the time people don't really understand the the big impact of you can make in your life and career being volunteering, because there are so many places you can apply and say, can I come and do some volunteering for a couple of months? I'm sure law organization would say yes to those opportunities, because I've been doing volunteering in different places, different roles. There is a massive demand for that. So if you're looking into going to housing, I would say is see whether you can be an internship, or you can try volunteer apprenticeships. There are other ways as well. So start with something small, because that's why I said I started as a copy typist. I'm a chair of the organization. Yeah, Eldon was my first job. I'm managing the CEO there and managing the board there. So it's an amazing journey I went through. And if I can get to that level, when I couldn't even speak in English, why not? I would say is, push your limits, work hard. Obviously, there will be disappointments, because you're not going to get the jobs you're applying, because you're competing against a number of people. But really ask for feedback. And really, there are so many people out there. They would be happy to help you. Say, can I have 15 minutes with you just to understand the job, or can I talk to you about some interview tips? I'm sure there's lots of people out there is willing to help you. So get that experience and learning, and as I said, prepare to work hard, and there's always results at the end. So for me, it's a positive, being positive, never give up, and that's a message I want to give to everyone who's looking for a job.
No, amazing. I think what a place to leave it. Never give up and keep going. Really, and I think you're right. I think now more than ever, there's a lot of groups that are being created, a lot of networking groups, a lot of connections, a lot more events. So there's definitely a lot more space for people to come and ask questions. There's a lot of housing shows and events where entrance is free. So come and visit and speak to people and find out, why should they come and work in the sector and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot more opportunity, I think, than there probably ever has been.
Yeah, and a lot of webinars are free these days. There's so many webinars are free, and you can book online, and it's an easy opportunity to go. And I actually, because I know London Met, I'm working with them. I give 2 or 3 tickets all the time free for students if they want to come and see what the networking means. They can talk to other housing professionals. They can build a confidence, also get to know them. So I would say is if do look out for those events and opportunities, and then you will be able to find out. And also there are career fairs as well these days. I went to housing 2024 last week at Manchester, and there was lots of housing providers got job fairs going, and they were talking about various jobs. And so now it is much more accessible compared to back in the time, because obviously it's all these media, this websites, and all the social media really reaching out different platforms, aren't they?
Yeah, no, 100%. But brilliant. Now, thank you so much for that, honey. That was really insightful, and I think you're definitely an inspiration to those looking to come into the sector for sure.
Thank you for having me.
No, thanks a lot, honey.